Hello, beautiful people. We're back with Inspire, your number one podcast, hopefully. Today, I'm with a different guest. Today, with a very, very special guest. Actually, أول مرة بقعد مع شخص in this specific field. So, today I'm with Rasha AlShaar. So, Rasha, أول شيء, welcome to Inspire. Welcome to this space. Welcome to this family, I should say.
Thank you for having me.
No, بالعكس. I love the energy. Your energy, I love it. والله عن جد مش مزاح.
Thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. You're someone with a story, and that's what Inspire is all about. It's all about bridging كل empowerment, inspiration into one space. Would you allow me to give you, the people, a big introduction about you? Should I?
The mic is literally yours.
Should I? It's literally, okay, fair enough. So, Rasha, you are a mind-body coach, right? You are, I'm going to say a few terms that بصراحة ما كتير أنت بديك أنت تعلمينا عنهم شو هن. You're a co-active professional coach. You're a certified holistic health coach. What I love about what you always say about yourself is that you are a change maker by nature, a coach by trade. You tend to put these words عندك بالprofile that makes you ما بعرف that puts like a human element behind coaching. صراحة ليك the mind body coach or active professional coaching, they're all the professional terms. But why change maker by nature, coach by trade? What does that even mean? شو عن جد ليه حاطة هيدا الترم عندك على البيج؟
Yeah. First of all, I love that you're asking me to explain something that's not like technical. It's actually the human part, which is much juicier.
Yes.
I think that a big part of what I do is who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like that with everything, but especially in coaching. It's a very personal kind of relationship.
Yeah.
And yeah, change maker by nature only because I like to challenge things.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
I see that.
So that's the change maker in me. And then coach by trade is just what my profession is right now, which is really a direct result of my nature. So
and that's what you do right now full time.
Yep.
So that's actually one of the things أنا حتى حطيته هون. There are a lot of introductory questions, but one of the things أنا كتير curious about. You're someone اللي كنت ماشي بحياتك بلشت حياتك typical like anyone else تخرجتي بعدين فتي into a professional حتى banking job, am I right? فتي in the banking industry and so on. وأنا بالنسبة لي one of the shocking things بقيون إنه it requires a great deal of awareness for someone يقول لحاله أنا اليوم يلا I'm gonna step away from banking I'm gonna go into the world to do what? To literally help people find themselves, to solve their own problems and etc. يعني شو يعني why did you make that jump على شيء that people would see actually very risky or some people would actually say that's reckless and from a secure job to a my God, freelancing.
Yeah, basically. Well, where do I begin? Okay, so I feel like I followed in so many footsteps of society and based on societal conditioning and limiting beliefs and things like that. So it's not, I want to like disclaim, it's not the typical kind of milestones that society expects us to take that is wrong.
Yeah.
That is not wrong. But I was coming from a place where I was doing it out of lack. I was doing it out of really a place inside me that was insecure and afraid to follow what I truly did desire. So whoever is following the standard way of doing things and loves it, like I'm jelly, because then you're like, really, you don't need to do much other than, you know, make it as enjoyable as you possibly can. Changing and going against the grain is really difficult and it is a risk. I don't think that it's something like other people would say it's risk taking.
Yeah,
I am saying it is risky.
Yeah.
Like it was a risk. It will continue to be a risk because I am exploring and growing and navigating this entrepreneurial world every day. And just to add some context, I quit that day job a year ago.
Wow.
A little over a year ago now. And I was doing coaching part-time while I was working in my marketing career,
Wow. When I'm at Mac before this recording, I was talking to you, and from the 2-hour conversation we had, I took one sentence from you, by the way. قلتي لي, quoting you, قلتي لي, I think I'm the most changed person I know. I was so curious. وقلت ما بدي أسألك بوقتها. قلت I want to ask you now on camera. What does that even mean? أو السؤال هو perhaps is who were you and who are you?
And that's so funny that you ask that, because change maker, kind of, you're adding a new dimension to it that I didn't anticipate to define it as. It's like, I like to create change because I'm a challenger.
Yes.
And like an investigator by nature, but also because I changed and I made that change.
Yeah.
So I'm a change maker that way too. Just a side kind of insight that you gave me now. I think I'm one of the most changed people I know, because there are parts of me that were not me, that were manifesting in my life, you know? And it links to, again, what we were saying before, like operating from a place of lack, operating from a place of doing things based on what's expected from me, or what's safe, or what's right. And I think that if I were to pin it down to one thing that changed in me the most, is my temperament. My state of being used to be, I'm still this fiery, energetic person, but I was fiery, angry person.
Okay.
So that was, I think, the biggest change in me.
From anger to...
Yeah, just, I had a lot of rage. I had a lot of emotion that was suppressed and repressed and misexpressed through aggression, through... I would say also like an unexpressed victim mindset.
Okay.
That created this persona that I identified as, which is strong.
Okay, so you kind of like, so it was in disguise. You're expressing this aggression. فكرتي it's strength, but what it actually was a deeper, rooted issues that were there that you never dealt with. You just suppressed them.
Absolutely. And I don't think I intended to express it as rage or aggression. Yeah. It was just, I was angry inside. So how else am I going to show up to other people other than angry?
Of course.
So this suppression, and anger isn't the root emotion, by the way. There's sadness behind it, but anger felt a lot more comfortable. You know? Anger feels... less vulnerable, less real, especially in our culture and our society. We love anger.
I'm so curious. Elaborate. I'm actually very interested.
We have quite, like in our culture, it's not as frowned upon to be angry as it is, you know, in other cultures.
Yeah.
And there's a light and a shadow to everything I say and everything anyone says, meaning there's the positives and the you know, I don't even want to use positive and negative, something more neutral, like
pros and cons,
the gifts and the costs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like the gift of a culture that's, you know, comfortable with anger is that we use our voice.
Yeah.
And we can stand our ground. And we take up space, and we have that we find that comfortable.
Yeah.
But the cost of it is sometimes you don't need to expand so much. You can rest.
Yeah.
And contraction, which is the opposite of it, you know, expansion is usually referred to as a gift.
Yeah.
It's when you feel big. That would be the gift of anger. But the contraction of anger, or the cost of anger, is really heavy on all your bodies, like your energetic body, your spiritual body, all the bodies. It's not.
So it's like the opposite effect of anger. Then, but what do we practice a lot in the world, or in the Arab culture? Are you saying that we practice more anger because it's simply just more readily available? It's easier.
Yeah, it's all anger, but one is sacred and one is not.
Okay.
Anger is a beautiful emotion. It's not actually something one should avoid. All emotions are sacred.
We should control it. You should try to control it شوي. No, I think when it goes out of control, it goes out of control. And I think it just requires a great deal of awareness to be like, this is...
Awareness, yes, I agree. I feel like control is not a word I would use with any emotion, though.
Yeah.
Because emotions actually don't need much control.
Yeah.
They just are. And if you allow an emotion to to surface, to be present with it in your body, it actually only lives for 90 seconds.
I saw that actually, and funny because I wrote it down. And you said neurologists found that one emotion physiologically only lasts 90 seconds.
It's wild. Yeah. When I found that out, I was like, oh, so really what it is, it's the stories that we tell ourselves in response to the emotion. So that's the mind and body.
Absolutely. And then again, I spoke about this a lot, what you think you become, no? And neurons that fire together, wire together, right? So I was watching this video by Dr. What's his name? Doctor, is it... Joe Dispenza, and he is fascinating.
Yeah,
and he keeps talking about how neurons that fire together wire together. So people wake up every morning and remember a moment they were angry. And when you do it every day, for example, every day بتفيق الصبح وتتذكري شيء that was sad, angry, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why we choose the negative side always. It's rare that we think of the positive side. Then suddenly your life becomes living on those moments. Suddenly you wake up every day angry, mad, or you wonder why. You might put the title of anger management or depression or anxiety. But the truth is, I don't know, perhaps you just condition yourself to always be actually consistently mad and angry.
Yeah, and you said the key, which is you remember قصة.
Yes.
It starts, it's a story that's making you feel a loop.
Yes.
This domino effect of a negative feeling.
Of course.
And negative, I put in air quotes, you know?
Yeah.
What's negative is the story that you attach to it, and that's what makes it painful. Actually, suppressing an emotion is more painful and exhausting than just allowing it to be.
Yes.
To just be with it.
But okay, again, why is the question is suppression by itself. Well, this is something I'm personally very curious about, very interested. لأنه at some point in my life, I kind of think I was leading my life with suppression. ولقيت حالي إنه suppression is not doing me any favor. وبعدين لقيت حالي it's actually not normal for the people in the culture هون وحكيت عنها in other episodes where it's actually not normal to express. We don't feel its strength, we feel its weakness. To express or be vulnerable. وقليل بحياتنا ما نمشي بحياتنا بنلاقي والله هو الشباب او البنات اللي بيقول لك hey, you know what, by the way, I actually feel like this today. We don't say these things because we sometimes say our feelings are weakness, especially إذا فتنا بين masculinity and femininity and so on, that I have to be masculine, I cannot feel weak.
Yeah, but anger is like this crown that you can wear all of a sudden.
Yes.
It's like all the emotions, even excitement, like it's very rare nowadays. And I'm not just speaking of our culture, I'm speaking of like human culture. You know, like there are different layers and different like quirks to all of the different cultures, but it's really essentially a human problem of what emotion are you comfortable expressing and which one are you not? Because most of the time what you want, like what you actually deeply desire, you have to experience the flip side of it or the shadow of it. And it's quite, this coach, therapist, her name is Alyssa Nobriga, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Fair.
She calls it the paradox of transformation. Okay. Like in order for you to feel free, you need to feel stuck. You need to make peace with the fact that you're feeling stuck.
To appreciate it.
Unless you feel stuck, you will never feel free.
It's like, you know what they say, it's like, watch this video, it's like, what is darkness? The absence of light, for example. You know what I mean? It's like,
it's all a paradox.
Yeah. It's like you have to feel the opposite to be able to appreciate all the feelings. Fair perspective. So going back a lot in time. So Rasha كانت this person that was feeling a lot of anger about a lot of things in life, personal things in life perhaps. What was the turning point اللي قالت حالها رشا إنه قالت لحالها you know what, I can't keep doing this forever. I need to look within. I need to discover إنه هيدا منه anger. I'm just putting something in disguise. I'm suppressing. What allowed you? What opened your life to this new, I don't know, awakening? A moment.
I'll tell you. So there was a day where obviously life just kept pointing me in a direction of something is wrong. Like you can't keep operating like this. And life tends to throw you these kind of mirrors back of what's happening in your subconscious. And so does your body. But at that time, I didn't have the awareness in my body. I'm a highly intellectual person.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was getting thrown these experiences and messages from the universe and just, you know, life was throwing things at me that were really challenging me, and they were basically pointing me to a direction in my subconscious. طبعاً, in avoidance, I totally disregarded them. But one specific moment, and I love this human being so much, I was studying in Dubai and we were walking from my apartment downtown, and I remember I was telling her a story.
Yeah.
I was telling her a story and I was speaking what happened. Like, this happened, I said this, they said this, I said this, they said this. And I just kept speaking in a very, not even intellectual, just logical, like factual way.
Okay.
And she asked me, Rasha, how did that feel? And I'm like, it was really shitty. And she's like, yeah, but how do you feel? And And I'm like, it was horrible. And she's like, Rasha, you're not answering my question. And I was like, ask another question, you know? And then obviously that was a joke, but in my head, I'm like, that is such a hard question to answer. I didn't know. I didn't know what I was feeling. I wasn't feeling well, but could I communicate that? No. Could I identify exactly what I was feeling? No. And I went back home that day and I was like, ooh, I have a lot of work to do, you know?
On myself.
Yeah, and I've done therapy before that, but like I was living in my head.
Yeah.
I was living in my head and I was living in an exhausting way.
Okay.
It was exhausting.
Yeah, is it related to I used to say, I know, people that put so much attention on public awareness leave so little space for private awareness. So when you focus so much on what the people think of you, before you sleep, you actually forget to think about yourself. يعني before you sleep بتقول لحالك انه you don't get to يمكن ما بتقول حتى لحالك شيء لانه you're spending so much time on people, on the way you're treating people and so on, but at the end of the day how much time you're spending for yourself to realize انه انا ما عم بقدر جاوب life's simplest question. How do you feel?
Yeah, and like I would spend time being like, I did work on myself prior to that. However, clearly I was avoiding the thing that needed the most work by just staying where it's like going to the gym, you know, you love doing legs. Why? Because they're your strongest muscle, you know. You love doing upper body. Why? Because you rock at it, you know. So I'm like, I know how to think really well. I'm gonna stay there where it's safe, because if I open this like box of what we call emotion, I have a lot of catching up to do.
Of course, I sat down with a very unique guest, Dr. Jana Kaman. She's in Dubai. She mentioned Brené Brown, I think, and she has a book, The Atlas of the Heart. I was actually reading it, and it's so interesting because she talked, I think Brené talks about how many? There are 70 emotions, is it 80? I can't remember how many emotions she talks about. She just talks about قد ايه نحن بنركز بحياتنا انه نحن عندنا anger, sadness, وهن 5-6 emotions. When we dig deeper, we realize that emotions is actually a sea of information. But we just, I don't know, we just don't give it attention. We feel, and I don't know why actually.
Because we're scared of drowning.
Okay. Why?
Emotions are like this ocean actually. And like, we're scared of a wave because we don't know how to ride it. A wave would be like a powerful emotion coming to the surface. And we see this as a wave and we're like, oh my gosh, we see it as a tsunami when it's a wave. You just need to learn how to surf and then the wave is over and you need to wait for the next one. So it's difficult to go into an ocean and try to learn surfing when you haven't swum a day in your life.
If I was to ask you to teach me how to surf right now in like 90 seconds. How will you teach someone how to surf?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
What's the number one thing you think you should pinpoint? I know, Hussein, if you and I learn how to surf the wave of emotions, you have to do blah, blah, blah.
If I were just intuitively to answer, I would say go into your body.
Your job has to do with balancing what's on the outside with what's in the inside. And I think for some people that might be such a weird thought. يعني شيء يعني balance on the outside with the inside. The question is, and I'm a curious person that actually doesn't know much about coaching. وشيء يعني on the outside, شيء يعني on the inside.
So on the inside, if I understood your question correctly, on the inside would be all the things that contribute to your well-being that are non-visible.
Okay.
Not tangible.
Okay.
And on the outside would be all the things that are visible and tangible. So things that contribute to your well-being could include, you know, your fitness, your diet, your sleep, your etc. All of these things are happening on the outside. Your job, your relationships, your friendships, your hobbies. All of these are in my first certification to become a holistic health coach. They called that secondary food.
Okay.
Which is literally food and everything else around you that's tangible. Secondary. And then primary would be all the things you can't see that contribute to your well-being. So that would include your stress levels, your emotional state.
Yeah.
You know, things that are not that live within. And my approach to you know, healing and transformation is inside out. Everything.
Yeah.
Even something you want to see outside.
Yes.
We go inside first.
Some people, some people, I think they view coaches, since you're a coach, some people view coaches as the people that are invincible. They never feel emotions because you simply learned all about them. Well, mark me if I'm wrong. The only thing that perhaps changed in your life is not that you don't feel anymore, or you don't invincible. It's actually that you just know how to deal with them.
I don't know where this reputation comes from.
But
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually feel more because I know I can identify now what's going on.
Yes.
I was so uneasy before because I didn't know what was going on.
Yes.
Like, you know, when you feel stuck and you don't know what's wrong, or maqmoot, you feel like this weight on your heart or this knot in your tummy. These sayings don't exist for no reason, because if you go into your tummy and into the knot, there's wisdom there.
Absolutely.
And it's so much easier to release.
Yeah.
So it's a mind kind of like, we work with what you believe, what you believe, and the way that you think in order to use your mind more wisely.
Yeah.
And then use the wisdom of the body to surf and ride that wave.
I love that analogy, by the way. I love the fact that, you know why I love it? Because it reminds me of my own dad. لأنه my dad used the same analogy مرة. إنه I was about to drop out for university. أول ما فتح الجامعة. Simply he gave me the same analogy, but not surfing, قال لي swimming. قال لي, I want you to imagine you're swimming, and then but there's nothing around you, and then you get tired. You wouldn't allow yourself to drown, obviously. And then you see this island that's far away. He's like, now align yourself to swim to the island. And I actually made it. I actually swam for 4 years. And I just graduated, وخلصت after it. Speaking of energies أو حتى emotions and so on, something recently بلش يمرق بحياتي, and this حتى for the viewers. So recently بلشت تفوت بعالم energies, right? And especially energy and alignment of energy. And the beautiful of coincidences. مع الوقت صرت أحس عن جد me sitting with you is just not a coincidence. It's happening for a reason. You can call me crazy, but I kind of feel it's happening for a specific reason. Whether it's for you, for me, I have no idea. It's just an alignment of things. وحتى كيف أنت كنت ماشي مع رفيقتك بدبي and suddenly سألتك هذا السؤال. I kind of feel she was sitting there, standing there, asking you this question for a specific reason. ما بعرف شو هي, but it just came in the right time. Do you believe in this? Or if yes, how does it happen, or why does it happen? What is it all about?
I mean, there are many ways to explain how this happens. One way, we call this like synchronicity, you know, this alignment of energies. When something's not a coincidence and it's like fate, it's synchronicity. Another reason that this happens is because of something called confirmation bias. So what I love about my work is that I have a spiritual element, I have you know, somatic kind of embodied element, and I have a mindset and very logical, and that intellectual brain, I need to add it just for my sanity, and then I feel safe to explore the other world of everything else in my experience. But confirmation bias is the science to explain. Why when you want to buy a red car, suddenly all you see is red cars in the car in the highway? So it's the same thing. It's when you have this system called the reticular activating system, which literally filters out information. So that's one of the things that contribute to, I want to see this, so I have an eye for it. You know, I wanna, for example, if you're working on your mindset a lot and you're whatever it is, if you're relearning conditioning and creating new beliefs, if you're reciting affirmations while doing the deeper work, that becomes so at the forefront of your consciousness that you're suddenly going to have an eye for it, and you're going to filter out the rest. And that's what reprogramming your brain looks like.
Of course, and perhaps is it true that this is the whole point of resolutions? Or why you should write them بأول سنة, وليه هن بيقولوا دايما write your things or journal or حتى يعني I use call them affirmations. بس مش just positive affirmations. And this might sound like a perfectionist or crazy. I have the logo Inspire stuck بالغرفة تعرفي وين؟ فوق كبسات الضوء. So right when I turn the lights on and off, I have a little sticker Inspire stuck above it. People sometimes question ليه عندي sticker stuck above the lights. It's because I want to look at it every day, remembering this beautiful journey that I've been going through, honestly. And to be honest, it's became autopilot. بطلت انتبه له أصلاً. I don't see it anymore. But I know some part of my brain is seeing it every day.
Absolutely.
And I kind of feel it just keeps me going. It keeps me actually taking a step forward. And I think a lot of people don't, what you think you become, right? What you think you become. So recently I've been trying to coach myself that, and just I don't think people appreciate that thought much.
Absolutely, and I love that idea. I did the same thing.
Wallah.
When I was still part-time coaching, my old logo, I made it myself.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, I could use my marketing degree, you know?
Finally.
Yeah. And then, so I made my logo and I put it everywhere. Put it on my notebook, put it on my wall.
Everywhere. To keep you going.
Yeah, and we call this in coaching and in the Coactive Training Institute, which my latest training, they call this a structure. A structure is just like a reminder that you can use to support you in a very inside experience.
Okay.
It's not you sticking the logo above your light that did the magic. It's not.
Yeah.
It's you, and that was just a reminder of you.
Okay.
Of the magic you're already creating. It's a structure. It's a reminder.
Okay.
Simply.
Just keeps their mind and hey, listen, remember this is happening, this is existing, and so on.
It supports you.
وعن جد this is something I actually have to say as well. تعرفي أول ما حتى people, I would love people, because sometimes people want to do things but they don't take action because they're afraid of that first step. And I want people to know, and this is one of my best very simple stories. لما أنا بلشت before Inspire, before everything, there was a workshop. كنت كتير خاف from public judgment. فعلا I used to be so afraid of what will people say about me. And then one day I got really so mad, so angry. Let's just put angry on. I designed a post and I had the post, but I was so scared to post it. I printed the post. I literally physically printed my Instagram post. I stuck it on the screen قدامي. خليتها stuck هونيك كل يوم اطلع فيها اقول لحالي when will I post this? When will I post this? And then I got to a point I was like خلاص screw this. لأ أنت بدي أوصل. I have to post it. I was shaking before posting it. But then خلاص I posted it, and then what people don't see is that this opens one door for you, and suddenly after you open the first door, you find that there are 20 other doors after that first door, right? Which you didn't expect at the start. Just like you opened the first door بالcoaching بعد ما طلعت من banking to someone will literally call you crazy, but you, that's the best decision. Exactly, that's the best decision you ever took, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we talk about coaching, one of the things you do is that, I read it on your website, you have people reunite with their true selves and overcome kind of like whatever gets in the way. Including themselves.
Primarily themselves.
So لحظة, you're saying overcoming whatever gets in the way, which very likely is themselves.
Which is only always themselves. Because anything, like, you were scared of like the judgment, right, of other people.
Yeah.
Beneath everything is a belief that's about you.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times there's beliefs of like I'm not enough.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough. I'm not, lucky enough.
Yeah.
And then another one could be I'm too much. I'm, they're all beliefs that are about you that you project outside of you.
Yeah. What do you mean project outside of you?
So, for instance, if you have, let's stick with the judgment, and I'll just roll with it with you.
Okay.
So if you're afraid of judgment from people if you were to post this post, what would happen if people judged you? To
be honest, what's the worst that can happen?
That's your brain.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
You were shaking. Why?
I was, it's my own definition of the experience then.
Yeah.
It's not
so
reality.
It's like there is something we're afraid of. And you know what? Let me use a personal example.
Please.
I was telling you earlier, my heart was racing yesterday.
Yeah.
I was literally just walking, and then I feel like, boof, and I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to find time to sit with that.
Yeah.
But was that just an outlier? Was that just one little body nudge? And then it happened again, random timings. And then I sat with myself and I'm like, I'm afraid for our podcast interview tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, there's a part of me that's scared, and unless I feel scared, I won't feel courage.
Yeah.
And then I asked that's the body part, okay? That's the emotional awareness and emotional mastery. Then with the brain, the mind part was, okay, what am I afraid of specifically as I go into this podcast interview? There's something I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's this element of being so seen by such a wide audience that still freaks me out. And it applies to social media, it applies to just public speaking, it applies to everything. And it's like, okay, so what am I afraid will happen if I'm so seen? And then I realized something. This is all just for today.
Oh my God.
I realized that I'm afraid of, in a way, I'm afraid of being seen because if it leads to so much success, I might be so busy and I don't want to be busy.
Wow. So it's not the fear of failure then?
No.
I think that you're the first one that I actually ever sit with that says this. I said it in, yes, that's so true, by the way. Some people are not just scared of failure. They're scared
I'm not, it's not in my realm to fail.
Yeah.
It's not something I fear because I don't believe it. I know I'm going to succeed. I am succeeding.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid how, and that leads me to my action because it's all, emotional work, mental work, subconscious work, and behavioral work. So now we had the emotion down. Okay, fear, I need to feel the fear so I can feel courage.
Yeah.
Cool. Mind, okay, I'm afraid of being seen because if I'm seen, I'm successful, and if I'm successful, then I'm so busy and I no longer have free time. So what's my behavior? My action step was to create ways to automate as much as I can in order to cater and help to as many people as I possibly could. Bring on the podcasts.
Wow, صراحة, and this is fascinating for me. Honestly, not many people think like this. So, but you're so right. When I'm in Spain, I remember one thing we spoke about before this podcast. I think part of our conversation was you asked me a question, which I used yesterday with a friend, by the way. قلت لي إنه a lot of people are afraid of fear. Or so you said something around the lines, and a lot of people think and they should avoid fear. Or when they feel fear, it's a bit weird. ما لازم أحس بالإحساس. And then you asked me, what's the point of life if there is no fear? Well, honestly, I asked my friend yesterday the same question because we were talking about how she wants to jump onto something new. Well, then قالت لي, but I'm afraid and I don't like it. سألتها سؤال, قلت لها, but what's the point if you weren't? قلت لها, what's the beauty of standing up on a stage and not feeling your heart skip a beat? What's the beauty of coming to our podcast and you don't feel anxious? I felt anxious for this.
Yeah.
This is like my 50th episode. Yeah. But I still felt anxious because ما بعرف, I think it's part of when you do something that you love. It's the worry إنه I want to do something great, I want to do something good. بس برجع بسأل السؤال, what's the beauty? مثل ما أنت قلتي بالأول, you only appreciate I don't know, anger if you felt calm, for example, the opposites. The same thing applies here. What's the point if you don't feel a fear? It's like when I went skydiving. Never felt like that in my life.
Yeah.
But
I love that so much, and I love how you kind of applied it into your life and with your loved ones. It means you're alive,
Yes.
Like if you can feel such a wide range of this ocean of emotion, it's such a gift. But again, if you feel fear for something that deep down in your truest essence, you don't have the love for, you don't have the passion for, it's not aligned with you, then that's just torture.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really following what's true for you and allowing whatever emotion comes in the way, in the way as in on the way.
Yeah.
Because it will never stay in the way. You'll just feel it and you'll finish from that wave and then,
You know how I told you about Dr. Joe Dispenza earlier? One of the things he talks about is, when we wake up, it's so easy for us to be stuck in these thoughts of the past or sometimes stuck in the thoughts of the future.
Absolutely.
I fell into that, by the way. صرت في الصبح أقول لحالي, what if this happens? What if that happens? بعدين بقول لحالي, بس that happened a week ago. I relived the situation. The problem أنا عندي ورفقاتي عم يحاولوا قد ما فينا حتى to honestly inspire me to change is we dwell too much on the past and we worry about the future. And I know this is cliché to say, but we actually forgot to live. So from a coach perspective, عن جد صراحة, how do you make someone aware and you just live in the present and the past is the past, the future is the future? What is it?
Yeah, I love this question. Because what ifs and what is the other one?
What ifs is the past, no? What ifs is the future?
Yeah, but there's another, like, there's this little juicy quote that's like, what if and when something. It's really interesting. It's like past and future. Yeah. Staying present requires you to get into your body. Because your body is only here now. You know? That's the only reference point you have for. And it's so easy to just tap in, feeling your weight sitting in that chair, feeling your feet against whatever surface it's on, feeling your forearms on the table. You can't be anywhere else while you're thinking of what's currently here. So a quick tool would be just to orient yourself to the space. I even told you, like, I sat here before we started rolling, and I'm like, I'm just orienting myself and grounding myself. And why did you saw me bring the chair down? Because I wanted my feet on the ground. I'm a short girl. So I wanted my feet on the ground so I can feel really present. If I'm just floating, so will my thoughts.
I think it is a quote, I think so. You said something around, you said, when we understand and experience the difference between being alive and feeling alive, that's rebirth. Do you think it's connected in any way with the being present?
Yeah, because it's the only being. Being is today, now. Becoming is in the future.
Okay.
You see that?
Yeah. Was it true? And dwelling on the past I'm not a psychologist, but can usually lead to depression. Worrying about the future leads to anxiety.
I'm not a psychologist either, and we still know that. Can you answer that question?
Can I answer if it's true or not?
Do you feel like it's healthy for you to live in the past?
No.
Or dwell in the past?
No, absolutely not.
Then that's the truth for you.
I worry about I think about the future a lot, and not everything is positive. I sometimes think of the negative things. What if this doesn't work? What if that doesn't work? But I'm حاول قد ما فيني أنا برجع بقولها neurons that fire together wire together. I'm trying my best to whenever I'm in a stressful situation, anxious situation, even when I wake up, I try to think. It's hard, but I try to think of what happens when I'm on this big stage, sitting, maybe speaking to 100,000 people. I give myself a little bit of, I don't know, something I'm ambitious about. And it suddenly becomes the way I feel every day. But it's not easy.
Yeah, and I feel so called to tell you that even in the fears you have in the future, there is wisdom. What are your thoughts trying to protect you from? There's wisdom in that. So we're always seeking love, safety, and belonging. So your thoughts in the future are coming from a place where there's a part of you that's trying to protect you from something that's probably going to threaten your safety, love, and belonging. So if you listen, then you can use it in the present moment. So the past is so helpful, and it teaches us a lot of lessons. And the future also gives us so many little gems to apply also in the present as the past does. But where are you living? So it's okay. بالعكس, coaching is all based on, what do you want to accomplish in the future?
Take you to another point.
Yeah, like from here to there. And the beauty in that is it's forward moving, it's action oriented. Healing needs behavioral change. You can't. It's not, this is my humble opinion, of course, but you can't just conceptualize something and not do anything about it.
Of course.
Otherwise, it's just a great conversation, coaching.
Of course.
So there needs to be action. The flip side, or the shadow, since you started with light and shadow, the shadow of coaching is living in the future, only jumping and not being present. Whereas also therapy is the same. Psychotherapy is very in the past. Very in the past, which is so beautiful because they get those gems and those nuggets. But the shadow of that is just staying in this loop of what happened. And not what's happening now and what's gonna. So there's shadows and light to everything, and we want it all. There's room for it all, There's room for the past to be studied, and the future, and the therapists and the coaches, and everything in between.
And there's wisdom in both, you're saying?
In everything.
Of course, there's wisdom. I agree with you, by the way. I think that period of time that I was dwelling too much on the past, focusing on the future, عن جد صراحة it taught me a lot. And honestly, بنرجع نفس البوينت اللي قلتيها بالأول. I only appreciated the concept of living in the present when I actually lost myself in the past and the future. Honestly, I would never come to this realization until I actually was two things. I was honest with myself and I was honest with my friends. And the fascinating things, بكل صراحة, when I was honest with my friends, I realized that almost we're all in the same boat. We just don't talk about it.
I know.
We don't talk about it.
I know.
I went with my friends once, beside die. And then I was having a tea at the beach and I was like, guys, I don't feel well, I'm anxious and so on. And then I realized we're a pool of people that feel the exact same way. But I was like, why don't you talk about it?
Yeah, I'm so for that. We should talk more, like share more things that are uncomfortable to share, you know?
Absolutely.
And I love how you're adding another element to what you said earlier about like what your thoughts create more of the same.
Yeah.
So do the people you surround yourself
with. Of course.
So if you start feeling better, then they'll start feeling better. And it's this beautiful, like, community is so powerful, you know?
One of the best quotes سمعته قبل Denzel Washington, he said, it's like if you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. And I think I love it. And I think
true.
It applies to everything. There's another quote in my head. I don't know why it came to my head while you're talking.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. Tell me what it means to you. A soul going through a human experience. I heard it recently, صراحة. I just found it very interesting. Does it relate to it? Why is it in my head? I have no idea. I'm just putting it on the table.
What does it make you feel when you read it?
I don't know. A soul going through a human experience. I don't know. Recently صار عم تلف براسي كتير هالquote, especially after I started reading books about energy and coincidences. And recently كتير إشي صار بحياتي that عن جد it just happened in a creepy, perfect timing. Honestly, creepy, perfect timing. And I told you before, I was thinking of dropping an MBA. And then suddenly I literally stumbled upon a coach that offered me a free session من عنده without me asking. And then he coached me and he told me that basically we got to the conclusion that Hussein, dropping it is good for you. And I was like,
who got to that conclusion?
I did. No, he didn't tell me. I actually asked him.
He's a good coach. Oh, we won.
You know, تعرف قلت له؟
شو؟
قلت له I'm going to ask you a question before we hang up. قال لي شو؟ قلت له if you were me, what would you do? And then he laughed because I'm literally destroying his coaching rules. قال لي I can't tell you what to do. قال لي this is my analysis of the situation and then it's up to you. I woke up the next morning. I was like, you know what? A lot of perspective right there. And I was like, خلاص. This is it.
A lot of times, and I'll get to what I feel. I feel like just from what your reaction, like just your body language, it's curiosity that you felt when you read it.
Yeah.
Or like,
perhaps,
you know, something along those lines. Does that feel true?
Oh, I'm very curious about it. Absolutely, because I just feel it allows me. It just for some reason when I read it, I feel like I want to know more about me. Like, what is this soul that I'm living with, and what is this human experience? And what's the goal of my human experience? It just makes me think about my experience. What does it mean to have a human experience?
You sound inspired.
Inspired with an E.
Inspired and empowered.
Yes.
For me, this quote is just like a breath of fresh air, because it's the truth. You know, we science, religion, everything agrees that we're a soul. I don't know if science does.
I'm sure it does.
I mean, I'm not sure. I can't argue that, but I feel it to be true for me, regardless of what anyone else says.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like I'm something beyond this body.
Yeah.
But in order to get where I want and thrive and be happy, I need to honor it and use it to my advantage. Like it's a weapon, you know?
Of course.
Such a beautiful weapon. So
in coaching, you must get a lot of people that give you different cases, and I'm sure some are harder than other, different lives and so on. A lot of people don't do things in life because they lack, let's just say, self-worth. They just don't know what their self-worth is. And how do we define self-worth? How much self-worth we have, and just who are we, and so on. How do you make them, because your job is not to tell them what to do, is it?
Nope.
Okay, so how can you عن جد tell someone that's lacking a lot of self-worth, and حبيبي, feet, wake up and see yourself? It must be a big challenge for you.
I don't make anyone feel anything. I think I help people feel the way that they truly are, which is worthy. Do you know what I mean? That's a little conceptual. Let me break it down.
Please do.
But do you get the concept of like, I don't tell them how to feel a certain way or what to feel really, because who am I to tell them what to feel? But they're coming to me knowing I'm feeling this and I want to feel this instead.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a journey of us exploring together, you know, where that feeling is and what that feeling is trying to tell you and what thought created that feeling. And then we reframe that thought and that belief and reprogram that structure in their brain. So then they start thinking different thoughts. When they think thoughts and they pick the thoughts that they want to think. When they think the thoughts that they want to think, they start feeling a certain way. And then when they start feeling a certain way, they start being a certain way and doing a certain thing. And then before you know it, your life changed.
Transformational.
Yeah. You change the way you think. You change the way you feel.
Yeah.
And it happens. It's your innate birthright. You are born this way. So I don't need to like inform you of it. You are unwell because you know you're off center.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why don't we just, you know, feel unworthy and be chill with it? It makes us feel so uneasy because we're off center. We've detoured from our natural state.
But does everyone take action when they fall off track?
Like during the coaching journey?
No, I don't think people reach the coaching journey because they're off track and they probably see that they're off track. But they just, I don't know, they just surrender to reality. And they're like, this is my situation. This is who I am. Then be it. I don't know. I just feel not everyone takes action because the way you're talking makes it. Because I love the fact I respect someone that takes action. I respect someone that بيشوف حاله I'm misaligned, I'm not aligned, something is not well with me. وتعب بتشوف هالcoach Rasha or غيرها and so on. Let me fix it. But a lot of people surrender to like, oh, خلاص, this is who I am.
Then why did you come to coaching? No one. Look, if you're coming to coaching, you're already taking action. If you're seeking support بشكل عام, you're already seeking support. You're already taking action.
Of course,
So you desire it enough.
Yeah.
To go after it. During the coaching, depending on, you know, who your coach or facilitator is, there are different ways and packages and programs and durations and structures that they use.
Yeah.
But it's normal during as well for there to be a dip. So after each session, there is always something actionable to do, whether it's tangible or intangible. An inquiry, something to sit with, an idea, something to do. And it's always co-created, or they say it or I challenge them and they accept or reject. It's never like, this is your homework, you know? Lame. Okay. There's no healing in that. There's no growth in that.
Love
because it doesn't resonate.
Love that.
It needs to come from you.
Love that.
You're naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. All the answers are within you.
Wow. What do you mean by dip?
Dip in progress.
Okay.
Like a plateau, you know, where it's like, okay, I've been doing this for 3 months. I'm feeling amazing. And I always humble my clients. I'm like, you're feeling great, but allow room for a day to go wrong.
Exactly.
Allow it.
Exactly.
Don't get so attached. You learned detachment when things were going, quote, badly.
Yeah.
And now it's going great and you're getting attached to it. Humble yourself.
Absolutely.
Because before you know it.
Yeah.
Key to happiness or contentment, at least, because I think that's a healthier goal, is the detachment.
You know, that's actually one of my biggest weaknesses. When you said the word dip, I define it in a different way. Dip for me is not doing anything. Dip for me is not working. A dip for me is watching a show on Netflix. For the longest time, by the way, I'm still struggling for the people watching. I find it hard sitting and not doing anything. And I'll tell you something so weird. I am on autopilot. For example, yesterday night. I go home yesterday night very late. I was at work and so on. Autopilot. Went to the room, my laptop opened. I was like, let's research about Rasha. I was like, let's put the questions. Even though I could have actually watched a movie. But I feel, because that's why I just changed the complete definition of dip. But for me, dip was not doing something as if it's a dip, as if it's a fall. Up until I started going to therapy. And then the therapist actually changed my mind by understanding that the definition of productivity is not doing something. The definition of productivity is just being sometimes. The definition of productivity is literally by sometimes waking up and really doing nothing is actually productive sometimes. Because, you know, مثل باللبنان نقول نقيفة, what do we call it? It's like, you know, when you take 10 steps to the back, pushes you 100 to the front, right? It's the 10 to the back that we're scared of. But if we give ourselves a little bit of leeway, we realize that it's just a matter of time until we fly ahead.
It's the same thing that you were saying about fear. If we don't want that that, fear in something that we love, which is really the journey of self, growth and development, then that little setback is like this fear.
Yeah.
It's part of the process.
Of course. And you have to love it.
And I love what you're speaking to, because I also struggled with this.
Yeah.
Of this constant, like, I need to be doing something.
Yeah.
And that comes from the neck up, because I always say I work on the neck up and I work on the neck down. And I started with the neck up because I was so comfortable there. And then the neck down is part of being and slowing down and presence and
of course.
Essence. Ego is somewhere else,
Of course. And عن جد بكل صراحة one of the most liberating thoughts I learned this year, by the way, is that بيمروا علي أسابيع that I actually don't feel like working. وبرجع على البيت, I talk to my friends, I'm like, I've had a very unproductive week. And sometimes I feel bad about it. And then I got to a point where صراحة, if I don't feel like working, I'll be honest, I'll actually listen to my body and I'll let it flow. I'll actually let it flow. I'm not in the mood, let it flow. And I realized that after a day or two, suddenly بتلاقي حالك إنه مرتاحة أكتر. Because you know what? Because you let it flow. It's like a storm that's meant to pass. And as you said بالأول, it's a 90-second experience, isn't it? Yeah. That we just exaggerate with our minds, that suddenly becomes days and weeks. But if you let it perhaps flow, watch it flow, appreciate it, learn from it, take it as something that, if we find wisdom and anxiety in the future and the past, I think you can find anxiety in the little emotions that you feel. For sure. Because they can tell you a lot about yourself.
They can. Yeah. And there's a difference, like little difference between watching it flow and flowing with it.
Okay.
So don't watch the sensation like looking down at your body. You need to go into it.
Yeah.
Are you watching people surfing, or are you surfing yourself? So it's a little like difference in that embodiment.
It's like jump on that surfboard.
Yeah. And I love everything that you're speaking to.
So coming to the end of the episode, I'm going to ask you a little bit of simple questions, within simple answers. If I was to ask Rasha, it's a big question actually.
Yeah, I'm like simple. I'm like ready for the question of a lifetime.
Like Alan Watts level. So what and how would Rasha define life?
A game.
Of surfing.
Oh yeah, sure. But I thought of this before, that's why. And I felt like I really like one of my life purposes is I'm a playful truth teller. So for me, when I saw life as a game, I became a lot more at ease, and it allowed me to be and do so many more things that felt true to me. So if I look at life as a game, I'm like, pressure's off. Yeah. Let's just play. And then and play for me is an ingredient to success. It's not تضيع وقت.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for that.
We need to remember that.
I actually love that, by the way, Anjad. It's like I'm gonna relate it to living that, bringing out the child within you sometimes. By the way, in my definition of play, bringing out the child within you sometimes. Anjad, let it come out. Let it. I don't know. Sometimes let it act stupid, and do the things you forgot to do. Yes. Because kids were so courageous. I know. We woke up in society. We grew up in society. Suddenly, I don't know what happens.
I know. That's why I love inner child work, and I love reparenting. It's so good.
I have to say this before moving on. I did this beautiful experience earlier, last year or this year. I did an improvised comedy show. I actually was trained and coached to do an improvised comedy show where basically we have no brief. We're trained to sit on a chair, and they're like, Hussein, yalla, go ahead and now act as if you're driving a car in the middle of a volcano and you're feeling anxious. Act it right now. And then I acted suddenly. Now change that feeling as if you're surfing, kayaking, and you're feeling very happy. And suddenly you have to change your mood. I swear to God, it was such a liberating moment, because it's a liberating experience, because I was becoming things I've never been in my life. Yeah. The last time was when I was a little kid that was playing in a salon and so on, but I forgot all about later.
Absolutely. Oh, that's so fun.
It's so much fun. Wallah, you might want to try it.
I would love to.
Yes, no question. Is coaching only for people with life problems?
No.
Just for everyone?
Yeah, because a big part of coaching is not like, oh, I'm stuck and I have this negative emotion. It's also like, I am here, I'm doing great, and I want to sustain that.
Yeah.
Or I want to get to, I'm here, I want to get to here.
There's a goal.
Yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts? I have my own thoughts about this, but what are your thoughts about the word happiness? Or comparing it to joy?
They're just, like, I don't have a very charged opinion or reaction to the word, because it's just like saying sadness or anger. It just is. It's just another one of the many,
Many emotions.
It's quite neutral.
Yeah. I kind of feel happiness is very short term. I feel fulfillment or joy is long term. I feel happiness is a boost of dopamine. Happiness is eating dark chocolate. Happiness is getting compliments. Happiness is an Instagram comment. Makes you feel very good for like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, which
you
is
act,
great.
which is great.
However, is that your end goal?
No. Yeah. Of course not.
I don't think you should have an end goal emotion that's quite, normally charged.
Yeah.
Like for me, as I said earlier, contentment is a lot more welcoming for a positive emotion, because it's more neutral. It's less charged.
Okay, love it. On Instagram the other day, I saw a post that said, it's funny, it said, the world, if everyone acted on their 3 a.m. motivation. So you know how we're always motivated, then we forget about the ideas. And the video was literally of cars flying or UFOs. If we were to act on the things we're motivated to do, we'd change the world.
At 3 a.m. I'm snoring.
So the question I have for you, what is a world where every human actually lives to their full potential? Because I feel coaching is when you fix those problems. So what is a world where we didn't have coaches, where everyone didn't need a coach, everyone actually lived to their fullest potential? How would it be to you in your perspective? Don't even ask how that question came from.
I love it. What? Can you ask it again?
So, if this world actually was full, everyone in this world actually was able to live to their full potential without the need of a coach. خلاص, simply ما حدا عنده مشاكل. Everyone can live to their maximum potential. How would that world even be? Just like when they say, what if a world was full of rich people?
I don't think that world would exist. It sounds like a dream and nightmare at once.
Wow.
You know why?
Why?
Because of the light and the shadow. How do we know what fulfillment is if we don't know what its flip side is? So we'll be bored. What will you aspire to achieve? Will you even have joy or contentment in that state? I don't know how great it would be, actually.
Love your
Plus,
answers.
I love my job, and I love being a client. So I want this to stay. I want us to have both sides of every emotion.
Last question. Everywhere I read about you, you always referred back to this pain/trauma in your childhood, right? If we go back in time, right, would you want to change anything about it?
No.
It made you who you are.
Absolutely. That needs a whole other episode, let me
course.
tell you. But no, I'm eternally sad and eternally grateful.
I love it. Rasha, honestly, I told you before we start, I don't think I've had a more spontaneous, even Omar behind the camera, can I see his eye contact?
I turned, I did the thing.
You turned finally.
Yeah.
So, and of course, send my regards to Omar. I love how flowing this conversation was. Thank you so much for putting your energy on the table. I really mean it when I say this. I just felt like it's just a conversation. And I'm sure people behind the camera watching this will feel the energy that you give off. I find it very inspiring and empowering and just very ما بعرف أعطتني a lot of energy حتى to see how someone that was going in one direction suddenly عمل هيدا shift to another direction, and now you're so full of life. You're so full of life, and it just happens you're also giving this life to other people. You gave it to me on a podcast, literally on a question answer kind of situation. I only wonder how your clients feel. I really, really think they feel great, and I've read their testimonials, and you have done a great job. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that to the people. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this space. Oh, I don't know. Thank you for giving your time to the people as well.
Thank you for being so welcoming and challenging my spontaneous nature that I'm bringing out even more, and for holding such a inspiring and empowering space and holding me in it. So thank you so much.
Great. Well,
Yay.
now I face the camera again. Of course, I hope you liked this one. I really hope so. I really enjoyed it. And I promise, inshallah, even more and more inspiration, just as inspirational people on Inspire, مثل ما معودين دايما. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.